Oh, I think that the third day of the combine might have changed the Philadelphia Eagles draft board by a long shot, and why we might be thinking outside of the box at a wide receiver going forward, and why it makes sense.
You better turn because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. So, want to go over day three of the NFL Combine, okay, especially at wide receiver. Now, thinking outside the box, we had the stream the other day, the shakedown during the Combine, and, a lot of, brainstorming of the Philadelphia Eagles, the future at wide receiver, and why this group. And let me tell you, this group of wide receivers, these boys can move. All right. Especially, a couple of my favorite receivers in this draft already. It's really tough not to pick a receiver in this draft. But when you kind of think down the line of what could happen, when you think down the line of you're not going to be paying over $20 million a year for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith is due a contract really soon. Hopefully, they pick up the fifth-year option or work on the extension. Howie has already said that you don't let a guy leave Philadelphia. And trust me, you want the guys that you draft in Philadelphia stay in Philadelphia. And that's why I would rather re-sign Devontae Smith than A.J. Brown when it comes to a future signing. But wide receiver 3 is empty right now. And looking at the combine and looking at specific wide receivers, okay, Xavier Worthy, my God, just imagine him in the slot for the Eagles this year. I mean, ran a 4.21. I mean, just put the combine on storm, just of what he could do. The quickness, probably the most twitchy wide receiver, elusive wide receiver in this draft, and is a absolute stud. Looks up to wide receivers like Deshaun Jackson. So the Eagles have already met with Xavier Worthy, not an unofficial visit, but obviously a combine meeting with him, and it's just it screams to me that the Eagles could go up in the draft. And I'll explain why and how this can actually work out. But man, the talent is just unbelievable. And obviously, one of my favorites in Lad McConkey, I've been looking at for a while, had a really good combine. His first 40 was 4.43. His second was 4.39. And on some of the elusive drills that he was doing, looks smooth, looks fast, catching is great. I mean, just another guy just had a fantastic day. Yes, some draft analysis were saying that a lot more than what I thought they were going to say about Lad McConkey of the just being an inside receiver. They think that he could be a potential number one for a team on the outside, which is kind of crazy for a size, but guy could stop at an instance with his speed. Stop, start speed is fantastic. Change of direction. It's almost like hitting the joystick on some of the old Madden games. It's kind of crazy when you have 100% speed on somebody, and what he could do in open space is absolutely fantastic. I kind of wish Britton Covey was on his level a little bit, which I don't mind Britton Covey trying to get himself into the offense. But man, Lad McConkey is another one that his draft stock totally rose up, no doubt. Is he a first round pick? Probably not. But someone is going to be available in the second round, and why the Eagles could move up again into the first round if they want to get somebody else. Wow, Lad McConkey was a complete shooter there. Oh God, this is one of the best ones of the day with Adonai Mitchell. I mean, this guy's a 6'4". I mean, he's running a 4.3. I mean, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy. The 4.3s, whatever it was. I mean, he for his size, and I know he's got a lot of length towards him, and actually ran faster than A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, from record wise at the combine, which is absolutely amazing. But for a guy that's this size with his speed and pinpointing the ball really well, concentration, draft stock rose up like crazy. Just another real high value receiver that somebody is going to get and really improve the passing game with. I don't know what they're feeding these guys, but Jesus, man. I mean, there's a lot of not even just from a standpoint of what school they come from, but man, the athletic ability, the talent. just from an athletic standpoint is just off the charts with some of these guys. I know it's just a 40, but I've seen obviously some of the other activities they do at the combine, and they all look really good. And Adonai Mitchell, um, man, it's 6'4", 196. I mean, it's just that's crazy. Another guy that's available right there. Even Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU, second fastest 40, quick, twitchy. I mean, could be potential inside to outside receiver. There is just so much of it here in this draft. And I know the Eagles have a lot of holes on defense, but this is where I'm kind of going with this now of when it comes to the wide receivers because like I said, you're not paying both AJ Brown and Devontae Smith unless AJ Brown takes a much cheaper contract to stay in Philadelphia and doesn't want to leave. But down the line, you're talking about this year and you're talking about the future. But since you have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown in the building, who available in free agency is really enticing at this point? You know what I mean? Are you going to go after a Tyler Boyd, a Hollywood Brown? Calvin Ridley had way too many yards last year, so he's out of the price range. There's really not much free agents. There are guys out there, but wouldn't you like to go in the draft to maybe get your potential number two, your potential other number one receiver for the future on top of starting him at wide receiver 3 this year? I think this is where they could go. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen, guys. So this is just an opinion at the end of the day. But just say you go into free agency because look, this is the only reason why I say do this is because they're going to have cap space. Okay, one move you're at $44.5 million with Kevin Byard. Okay, the release. And then God knows Avonte Maddox post June 7.1. Just by another move with HaasonReddick's extension at $11 million will get you over 50 million, and plus other moves can get you over $60 million in cap space. And the Eagles never really have money like this. So in free agency, if I could just pinpoint what they might do here, is HaasonReddick will sign his extension. The Eagles will sign Van Ginkel as a linebacker. Cornerback, I think they'll get more of a scheme fit in the second round of the draft. I don't think they draft one high as much as I want them to, but they could take one of those 2 second-round picks. They have 4 fifth-round picks, so just say you get an Xavier Worthy or you get a Ladd McConkey or something. If I wouldn't say the first round. Xavier Worthy could be a first round pick. Ladd McConkey probably will be a high second. At this point, the way his draft stock is rising, but I feel like you could still get your cornerback. I don't feel like all these receivers are going to go in the first round. I really don't. But I feel like the Eagles could move up with one of their second round picks. So you could still get the cornerback you want for the future with that first round pick. Whether it's going to be Terrion Arnold, whether it's going to be McKinstry, I don't know. But I feel like you can still get your guy in the first. And you have 2 of your second round picks. Somebody might fall. Eagles could move up. They have 4 fifth-round picks. And draft one of these receivers high because put younger guys on your defense. I say you fill up your defensive roster with a lot of youth and put a lot of emphasis into your offense and go all in. Go get a guy. I mean, really, at the end of the day, if Devontae Smith gets hurt or AJ Brown gets hurt, what do you have? Nothing. They don't even have a number 2 tight end right now. Nevertheless, they don't have a number 3 wide receiver. And wouldn't one of these guys be a huge upgrade over Quez Watkins? A huge upgrade over Olamide Zaccheaus? I mean, Kellen Moore loves to use wide receiver 3s. He loves to use tight ends. I think he's going to really enjoy using Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown in this offense. And finally, this offense is going to have a passing attack that's going to be balanced. It's not going to be one receiver all day. It's not going to be a first half of the year by A.J. Brown, a second half of the year by Devontae Smith. To get one of these guys at wide receiver 3 right now, that potentially is going to move to that number 1 next to Devontae Smith, I think is one of the better options that they're going to do. Yes, they're going to get a running back in free agency most likely, okay? I don't think they're drafting a running back at all. I'm not really a big fan of the running backs this year, besides maybe 1 or 2. It hasn't really flashed me. I think the market is a lot better and promising for what they're going to do later on. We'll go through that in another video. But when it comes to wide receiver, cornerback, because really look at it, They're going to get depth at offensive line. They could re-sign Sua Opeta or some of their other guys. They'll draft an offensive lineman within the first few rounds. I think with one of their other second round pick, they could do that. I think they can still get their corner when Bradbury is cut. I think they'll get their corner in the first round. You go up and get a receiver, and then I think some edge guys are still going to be available. I don't know. You have to move up pretty far up if they want an edge rusher. They still need another one. I don't know what they're going to do there. That's really the only question I have. Safety, the Eagles have been interested in the free agent market. So I feel like running back, safety, and linebacker are going to be done through free agency. I feel that 100%. What do you need? You need offensive line depth, and yeah, you need a wide receiver 3 and a cornerback. And I think that's going to be the plan going forward. Like I said, I don't know any of this, but thinking outside the box, I mean, for the future of this team to grab another receiver like this to kind of, I hope, and I really hope they see these wide receivers and say, man, Kellen Moore can get another fantastic weapon on the inside. Um, seriously, Quez Watkins and Zacchaeus, I think they weren't given. I think Quez has been given more opportunities. Zacchaeus was not given much of an opportunity with a couple touchdowns, not really utilizing that position that much. A lot of positions were not utilized with this football team. But man, this would be a fantastic draft and a nice mix-up of young talent on your defense and then really going all out with your offense. You want to score 30 plus points. You don't want to get a subpar wide receiver 3. So, in review of this combine for wide receivers, it's off the charts, and I'd be shocked if Howie's not involved in trying to get one of these guys. I'll be shocked over it because, like I said, in review of what I think the Eagles will do, okay, free agency, they will sign a safety. They will sign a linebacker. Okay. They have to sign a couple linebackers, but obviously not at high price. They'll sign a safety. They'll sign linebacker. They'll sign running back through free agency. They might get some depth pieces at offensive line. Maybe Sua Opeta comes back, something like that. They'll get some depth there. And through the draft, you could still get your number one corner of the future after Slay leaves after this year. And you could still go get maybe another edge rusher. Maybe they can go get another wide receiver. You have 2 second-round picks. I think they can hit almost everything. I would add more young talent to your defense, pack that on with more athletic talent there, and you could still your offense has got to score points this year. If your defensive scheme is Vic Fangio in this 3-4 and he's going to get the most athletic guys he could get, I think he'll get that through free agency and some of his guys that he will get there, whether it's Deshaun Elliott at safety or they want to go pay Antoine Winfield Jr. at 25 years old would be probably the biggest move at safety. So there's a lot of, Van Ginkel, is probably the most, probably a fifth year for Van Ginkel, being a monster, what he did last year with 53 quarterback pressures and 6 sacks, how they use him. I think he'll sign some mid-tier money with the Philadelphia Eagles at 29 years old for a few years, for a couple years at least, and under the coordinator they played really well with in Miami, which was Vic Fangio. So I think this works out entirely. We just, I got to keep this in my head for a while because I'm trying to make sure that I'm not missing anything. And I think I've gotten almost everything covered when it comes to the Eagles' needs. And, you want to get best player available in the first round. But the Eagles have to make a choice. If a defensive end drops down, do they get a pass rusher? Really, free agency is going to really designate what they're going to do. But if I don't see a wide receiver 3 sign throughout 3 weeks of free agency, at least by March 11th to like the last week of March, I got a good feeling that they're going to get one of these guys. And I'm hoping so. But let me know what you guys think, if that plan actually makes sense, and would you take a chance? Does it make sense? You got to think about this year, and you have to think about the future. Yes, you can go out and get a free agent wide receiver 3 for the year, blah, 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 2 years, whatever the case may be. But you're talking like now and another 4 years, if that's the case, with a wide receiver coming to the Eagles to be, you're not going to be able to afford both contracts between Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Getting a guy like this, fill him in at wide receiver 3, And then he is the future number one for the NFL, for the Philadelphia Eagles going forward. I think that makes a ton of sense. And I've been I'm starting to get on the train now of it's tough, man. It's exciting though. I mean, look, we don't know what the Eagles are doing. Most exciting part about this whole thing is that we have no idea what they're going to do. But it's really hard for me to say that the Eagles are sitting there. Howie Roseman's sitting there and saying that he's not looking at any of these guys. Now, meeting with Xavier Worthy was probably one of the best moves that I think really like. I'm excited to see what Kellen Moore really wants. And when Howie and him, how they collaborate together and how this whole thing's going to work out. So it's going to be really interesting. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day. You let me know. I know people are going to call me a jackass for talking about this. I get it, but you can't ignore the fact that you need a future guy at number one because you only have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown paired up for a couple more years, the most. Get another guy in this building. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Just think about it. See you guys on the next one. Chicks, what up, follow slide. Peace out, guys. Peace.